ignored you because these big companies like Facebook, me and Kat were talking before the show about Facebook Prison, and sometimes they ban you from your own pages and from your own followers. And when you message them, you never hear anything back because they're bigger than us. Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? They're not interested anymore. But the book is out there and it still sells really well. And I still get death threats and I still get people saying, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. I believe, I'm not like a hardcore skeptic, but I believe whatever was happening to her was a psychological thing. But
Well,
then
and
again,
it
I
wasn't
have
that
seen
she was
footage.
the only person, though, Gavin. I mean, there was a witness to one of the attacks.
Of course, and his son he wasn't sexually violated, but he was assaulted. He was punched while reading an adult magazine. And we've got to be really careful because if is there actual, this is where the divide begins. We are not allowed to believe as a society, especially in the West, that, you know, spiritual entities, demonic beings, dimensional beings, ghost spirits can cross into our realm and do such perverted things. And there are a lot of psychological evidence that could back up it happening. But as Kat rightly says, it happened to a woman and her boyfriend had to watch. He was like made to watch by something. And his son was made to watch as well. So either we're dealing with a mass hallucinogenic or a huge something psychologically happening that's made him super suggestible, or this is happening. This woman hasn't had any money. She's not in TV. She's not in a film. She still goes about her daily life. Nobody knows who it is. And it's happening more and more frequently. People are on TV all the time now saying they've married a ghost. One woman was on TV recently
Oh my
in the
God.
UK that
Yes.
she's got a lesbian ghost lover and they have sex on aeroplanes. So they've actually joined the Mile High Club.
I just, I'm sorry. I would have thought that her partner would have been way above a mile high. So, astral and everything. But that's another story. But it's like the woman who is having her own ghostly lover who wants to have its child.
A phantom pregnancy.
Yes. And, she's, it just blows my mind that this kind of stuff is reported. And then when I'm sitting there being all judgy and stuff, I'm like, wait a minute. I hear people who aren't there talk to me.
Yeah.
Okay. I have I have read your book and I believe your book. I it just and I know that a most haunted house was a true experience. So who am I to say that this woman isn't actually involved with a spirit and thinks that she's found some way to bear a child? I just I have to catch myself with that because it's not in my realm, but that doesn't mean it's not in someone else's wheelhouse.
We've got to be careful because we've talked about this before in that I've had my own personal experience and I try to rationalize it. And I was very comfortable with my rational for a long time. And A Most Haunted House was born out of my need to have catharsis from what happened at the house.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about that in a little bit because it
Yes.
ties in with Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest. But as me and you said before, say a woman is genuinely being violated by another worldly entity, whether it's alien, demonic, Bigfoot, whatever, whatever, something that is not of this nature, of this physics. Now, someone like yourself can go there and offer her like spiritual counseling, cleansing, saging. But then if she is got a psychological deficiency, then all you're doing is fueling the fantasy. But at the same time, if you don't offer that spiritual protection and counseling, she goes to a doctor and he feeds her tablets, and then she goes back to the house more vulnerable and incapable of fighting what it is. So
Absolutely.
it's a dangerous, dangerous line for everyone.
And that being said, we are going to be taking our first break. Our time goes so quickly, Gavin. And we will be right back. This is going to be a 3-minute break, so it's a good time to grab another beverage and just enjoy.
Listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back to Paranormal Experienced Radio. I am Kat Hobson, your host, and my guest tonight is Gavin Lee Davies, who is just one of my dearest friends in the paranormal, or really anywhere. We're very mutually supportive. I think his books are brilliant. I think he is magnificent. And we've been talking about his second book, Ghost Sex, The Violation, and the psychological vulnerability, really, for the people who experience such as this. Welcome back, Gavin.
Thank you. I just got to say, we really know how to get a show going. We're 23 minutes in and we've covered spectrophilia, rape, ghost sex, violations. We really know how to get a show going.
Hey, I'll tell you what, we are professionals. Don't try this at home.
Don't try this at home, guys. It could get horrible. But thank you to everyone, who's listening, and it's a very difficult subject to try and comprehend. And one of our main newspapers in the United Kingdom, the Sun newspaper, contacted me for a comment about why so many women are coming forward. And I don't want to dismiss that there isn't such activity, because there probably is, And I said, I think it's very telling that we're in a new age of online dating and hookups. And from my experience of friends I know who use online dating, it's very much a kind of they get hooked up and then they get dumped, they get chucked, they're ignored. And I think for a lot of people who can't find that loving relationship, they've got very jaded by how they're treated by other people.
Yes.
And they kind of disassociate themselves from human love and want something extraordinary, something different. So whether it's real or it's in their mind or it's just a fantasy of theirs, they want something amazing, like a ghost that, a spirit would rather, shack up with a woman, and that makes it feel really important and special and attractive and all those kind of stuff. And I think it's just really telling in this new age when more and more women are coming forward now, saying that they've got lesbian ghosts, having ghost babies, marrying a ghost, famous ghosts. I was on a radio show once, and a woman called in and said about she had had sex with the ghost of Robin Williams. And I didn't know how to respond to that, but I still got loads of hate mail. I was like, I didn't say it. I had loads and loads of hate mail. And I was like, I wasn't there. I discussed the psychological rationale behind it, but it wasn't enough for people. And people need to feel something special. And when we deal with the paranormal, we have to sieve through what is fantasy and what is fact. And with A Most Haunted House, my first book, which nobody needs to buy, okay? Nobody needs to buy A Most Haunted House because a brand new edit of it is being put in my brand new book, which is Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest. So if you haven't read A Most Haunted House, don't worry, because it's in this new book. So I had an experience in 2002, blissful beginnings, bought a house with a beautiful girlfriend.
Who is beautiful, by the way. She is a lovely person.
That's my new girlfriend. She's lovely, isn't she?
She is.
She's so supportive. Do you know what, though? She's not really into this, but she's so supportive anyway. And I say stuff and she looks at me thinking, oh, God.
Well, David is not into this either. So it's beautiful when they love you enough to support you in things that make them go,
Yeah, it's like she's reading Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest at the moment, and by page 4, it talks about my basically by 2013, which was like 10 years after I'd lived in the house, my life had spiraled and cascaded so much out of control. And I'm not ashamed to say this. I was an alcoholic, severely depressed, and I tried to take my own life, okay? And people said that's a very selfish thing to do, and it wasn't, because at that stage, there's nothing left. There's no ego, there's no anger, you just don't want to exist. And something happened. I have no idea why, but the next morning, there was no ill effects. There was nobody got in the house. I hadn't been ill. I just somehow woke up a few hours later, absolutely fine. And I realized there was that glimmer left, that flame inside. And I crawled out of the abyss and faced the sun again and tried to make every day a good day. And I've been sober 6 years. I gave up smoking, and I've tried to motivate and inspire and be kind and grateful. I don't always get it right because I'm a man and I'm also human, and we don't always get it right.
The human side is what gets you.
Yeah. And, I had a mini stroke last year and I worked through that. And I believe, and this might be really difficult for some people to comprehend, and the skeptics will snigger, but I believe the reason I got so depressed, not that I'm trying to shirk my accountability, was because I lived in a house that was severely haunted. Now, A Most Haunted House was my catharsis. I wrote it as part of my healing after my depression and alcoholism. And it was about a man and a woman. It's a true story. I just changed the names, who were living in a haunted house. And it was me and my girlfriend and how we dealt with it. And the haunting drove such a big wedge between us that within 3 months we were done. We were over. And it broke my heart. And I never kind of recovered. I was always like shackled to the house. I always had this fear and dread inside. And The Most Haunted House went on to sell 60,000 copies. And I put it on Kindle. I didn't expect anybody to read it but close friends. I mean, thanks to the support of people like Kat and her community, people just went out and read it. And then I wrote Ghost Sex Violation, and that again was just so controversial. But people just reading it, 6,000 copies read in 4 weeks. So it's been 4 years, and now I've just released Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest. It's done phenomenally well. It's been nominated for Paranormal Book of the Year, and it sold out in pre-order. So a couple of years after I sobered up and Most Haunted House was doing the rounds, I was very satisfied that the reason the house was haunted was based on a cell phone transmitter. We call it mobile technology in the UK. You call it cell phones. and they'd put a brand new tower, communications tower, right in the center of my town of